Project 427 Part 2. So I just discovered within myself another way that this could be helpful, is that by doing this every day, we can discover, like, if I do create something, like for example, this earplug, this designer earplug. If I do this from 4:27 to 4:32 p.m. or a.m. if you're an early riser, then one can see that within 5 minutes, with one's hands, eyes, and heart, and some stuff, one can create something new. And it's important to approach it without a motive to create something new, because otherwise there'll be an idea about what should be created, and that blocks the possibilities, because it's about seeing everything with the whole visual field and starting to look at everything by withdrawing the focal vision and going into the peripheral vision. So the whole peripheral vision can see everything at the same time, and that could actually start to inform the hand movements or not. But if we are someone with bipolar and we do this, and we happen to create something that is amusing, just creating with our hands, eyes, and heart for the sake of it, like when we were a child, just for the movement of it in itself. But say we do create something kind of fun, we let our brain and our body and our being and everything know, and the universe know, that we can create something new in 5 minutes. We could invent something in 5 minutes. We could make a manifest thing of one of our past ideas without even thinking about it or thinking about the idea in 5 minutes. So if we can see that we can do that with our body, it could actually be a helpful thing that might train the body subconsciously in this meaningless movement to, when we see sometimes, unfortunately, with bipolar, we see like life is meaningless. So when life is meaningless, this is actually the time when, if we feel like that, we're at greatest risk to end our lives. Life has no meaning, and we're thinking that psychologically. So if every day at 4:27, by creating an atmosphere of togetherness and a resonance of that, we're going into this, I don't know what anything means, there's this stuff here, I'm not looking at it focally with a motive, but just start moving and moving things around. Then we tell the body, hey, yeah, it can be meaningless, and we can go into this meaningless space. And when we go into the meaningless space, it can actually be something that augments creativity, because we're not in this space of knowing everything and what things do and what they're for, but we don't know anything, and then all of a sudden we're in this creative movement like when we were children. And if we can go into that, we also go into that childlike space, which is something that happens in bipolar. We go into that childlike space, and we can practice that daily. And I also realized, when I got up from making the last video, like sometimes this can inspire something else. So I have these body tappers, and I was like just tapping my body for whatever reason as a gesture to let my body know it's here. There's 2 of them, but then I started to kind of like make music with it, like. So then I got a little beat, and then what came to mind was this. And then I started to think, that you can actually make a song. You can go, oh, why am I so square? Like, oh, tie this in my hair. Something like that. So we can start to make music with the objects that we have and create ideas for that, because if we can transform some of the words that we've been in contact with into music, it could be more digestible than a million books. So yeah, I saw that too. And so the other thing too is, you know, getting the hands, eyes, and heart moving in creativity with stuff instead of words, because the words can turn on us. They can be really beautiful, you know, and we can turn the stuff on ourselves too. But when we're really in this space of creating, then it just trains the body that to be creative with the hands instead of destructive. You know, like, because a lot of things we do when we feel pain, you know, we take something that is somewhat harmful, like we eat food or too much of it. So I'm not saying this is going to prevent that, but I think part of the point is that if we see we can create something new in 5 minutes, then, you know, in those 5 minutes where we might be thinking that we don't know if we can go on, then because life is meaningless, this is purposefully going into this meaninglessness, but then moving these creative bits around instead of moving thoughts around, which are the past, and they're not new and they're old. So the past is trying to sort of get us to end our presence, when this going into meaningless stuff, and I just have it here, you know, can bring us into the present, because the point is to be mindful and move the hands, eyes, and the heart together. And also doing this together with other people. We're trying to contribute to that collective consciousness of, you know, of bipolar, where, you know, we've spent so many years trying to advocate for ourselves and explain ourselves and, you know, shy away from the stigma of ourselves. And, you know, it's all ourselves. But I feel that creativity, they say, is usually when the self is not. So it's not even about the self, it's about the creativity. And so we can go into this space where instead of trying to explain ourselves with words, and, you know, we're out in society maybe a bit happy and uppity and doing all this stuff, then we end up sitting in a psych ward like this, explaining ourselves in words to a psychiatrist. We can't move. We're just kind of sitting there telling them our symptoms of ourself. By doing this, we're sort of sitting here, and instead of trying to explain ourselves, we're going away from the self and creating more brain cells of perception, action, perception, action, perception, action. Oh, doesn't matter. Feather stuck in this. I don't know. Like, oh, then all of a sudden, feather stuck in this. And then I realize, oh, I can stick the feather in this and make it a little stand on something, you know. And the point is, it's just to create for the movement in itself. And when the trouble is that it's really hard to do something just for no reason that's meaningless. You know, we think what we're doing has meaning, and it could be more meaningful to get back into this posture, even like sit on the ground like this and like really be thinking, but not really thinking, not thinking at all, just taking it all in. You know, like you can make a card or something for someone, or, you know, somebody might come to mind that you can make something for. And yeah.